Okay, welcome to another Evanston Magazine forum. This little forum I'm putting together. This is actually a extremely special and I believe important moment right now. I'm in front of one of the highest authorities in the subject and in the city combined that I think is available in Evanston right now, Bennett Johnson. Bennett Johnson is a historic acorn in the tree of Black history, I believe. He's been around all of the famous people that have walked in and out of Illinois.
You say I'm a nut for being in the civil rights movement so long?
Well, acorns are nuts. Yeah, I get it. This is great, man. I love it. And thank you for taking the time out to talk to me. You know, I want to talk to you specifically today and this time about this reparations thing. Evanston is now a nationally talked about city when it wasn't always that case. So from your perspective, let's start this. What do you think of where it's at right now, the conversation?
Well, I think the conversation has started. I think what happened in Evanston is really, really important and very positive.
Yes.
But not so much for the actual program they put together, but for the fact that it was done.
Okay.
And so it started as the great philosopher said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Right.
And so this is the first step, and I think we can follow the road and make sure that it ends up in the right place.
Okay, all right. And I kind of agree with that also. I know that there's been a lot of opposition to how it started. I think people believed that, you know, square one was going to fix everything. And I know that that's not the case. What's your opinion of the direction of some of the youth that believe that this was no good or that it should be renamed?
Well, I just think that they're overreacting. Just like when you're a kid, you want a bicycle. And instead of a bicycle, they give you a BB gun or a pair of shoes or something like that. You got a gift, so yeah. Let's go from there. And so I think the criticisms are justified as far as the program is flawed. Yeah. But that's no reason to oppose it. The main reason is to improve it. Right. You got the hole dug for the building. Let's make sure it comes up right.
Okay. Now, what do you think that should look like as far as the next step? What do you think the next step should look like?
Well, actually, I've been involved in reparations for quite some time. The first thing we had at Evanston was, I think, in the year 2000 or before that. I can't remember the exact date. Reverend Heisel Taylor, who was the pastor, senior pastor at Second Baptist. Right. Convened a meeting at Northwestern where we brought in a lot of high-profile people, including, in fact, one professor still around, Martha Vianney at Northwestern. But we brought in one of my former high school students, Maria Mutri, who was a faculty member at the University of Illinois. My good friend Clarence B. Jones, who was King's lawyer, and a lot of really high-profile, committed folks.
Martin Luther King's lawyer.
That's right.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was also the first Black on the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, the point is we had some high-profile people there, and we came up with a plan. Now, the value in the plan that Evanston came up with is it talked about housing, and housing is the centerpiece of wealth for all. In fact, Karl Marx said capital. The only capital is land. Right. And so it's going in the right direction, but it's limited as far as what it's done, the concept itself.
Yeah. I think it was a good start. Like most people are yelling, it's a good start. And so I remember talking to you, and are you able to put in an application? Because I know this is an application part. You should be able to, or you should be close to being able to, right?
I mean, to get the money, to get
Yeah.
reparations?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And will you actually apply?
I'm not sure. Of course, I
Okay.
can use the money, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
What would stop you?
I'm more interested in implementing a plan that will help all Black Evansonians rather
Right.
than just Bennett Johnson.
Okay. Well, I understand that, and looking at the way they set it up, you might be one of 12 people that still factually qualify for this thing in Evanston, because the city is moving. Young people are moving in, and not many people with maturity are still here from the parameters that they laying down. So I think that's one of the criticisms of it. What do you think of that? Because if you don't apply, we don't really have a program here. I think you should apply.
Well, no, it's not about me. First of all, to set up a arbitrary date from 1919, 1969 really makes no sense. They use 1969 because the city of Evanston passed a fair housing ordinance. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You act like everything stopped just because they passed a law.
Right.
The outlaws were the white realtors anyway. And so they ignored it and used other techniques to keep things segregated. Certainly they weren't as segregated as they were prior to that, but they were still segregated.
Right.
More importantly, Blacks came over here early on in the 1800s. And so why would you set up 1919? Again, that's an arbitrary and not a valid date. So that in itself was not smart.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and I thought maybe there was an angle for that. I'm gonna get into this a little bit later, but I know that what was the eighth ward?
Fifth Ward?
No, the eighth ward woman that lost. We talked about
Ann Rainey.
Yeah, Ann Rainey. I want to talk a little bit about her a little later, but right now we're still in the factual part of, I believe, what the program is talking about. I thought that they picked a time period that was almost kind of unreachable, because if the people like yourself, you're 90 years old, you know what I mean? And that is a phenomenal thing to be, but it's not very common. So they're kind of reaching back to people like yourself. And then you start thinking about some of the people in your age group, and I hope you don't feel like this is in any way a disrespect, but a lot of people in your age group haven't had the blessings that you've had to be so still physically fit and mentally competent at 90. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a big hole in the reparations program that they put together. Not that I don't believe that it's valid. I think that it's a great program but it's the first piece in a 1,000-piece puzzle that should be put together. Yes, it's good, but we got a lot of work to do. Now, my question would be with you. You mentioned some of the realtors around when it was 1969 when the law changed, and you were around then. I know you were a lot younger then, but do you remember? Well, so much, yeah. But do you remember any of the names, or are any of those people still around? Not that there's need to be punishment, but at least accountability of some type.
I'm not sure. I was not close to the real estate, the realtors in Evanston at the time.
Okay, I respect that. I do know you had some business you were in the business world at that time, so I thought maybe you had bumped into a few.
I was running a program called the Talent Assistance Program.
Yeah.
What we did was to help minorities get into business using volunteers from the corporate community. We started Soft Sheen, we helped Johnson Products get started.
Yeah.
And Rio Mover. We started a lot of businesses, some of which are still around.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think a part of this reparations thing, because it's always about money, right, is that some of those companies that were helping this redlining back in the day should be held accountable monetarily. So some of those, they should be paying and I don't want to get into retroactive penalties, so to say, but at least in good faith, there should be documentation. You guys redlined in 1965. You're still around here now. We would feel comfortable with you putting together, and I hate to keep sticking to $25,000, but maybe that could be like a bullseye time, and some of those companies may come to terms with that. And then the more companies that do put into that pot, the bigger the pot will become. And then, you know, you get into all the other conversations on how do you grow that pot to make it valuable to all these people. Those are just ideas. I'm here to exchange with you because I know you're an authority. So let me ask you some more stuff. Let's get back on task.
Before you go away from that.
I'm sorry.
The purpose of reparations is not retribution.
Yeah.
In other words, we should repair rather than worry about retribution. The concept that I have created and been endorsed by several people is what I call the freedom plan. So the areas of interest are real estate, so we would start a real estate investment trust.
Yeah.
Business, so we start a small venture capital group. Health, so we have a fund for to help people with health and health problems.
Yeah.
Education, obviously that's clear what that would do. And then we should have what they did in South Africa, Truth and Reconciliation Group. In other words, where people can come and, because people like to complain and tell stories, and there are a lot of great stories.
Right.
And also, some of these people who've been on the wrong side can come and explain why they are, what do you call it? Why they are, are you still have me?
I'm here with you. I'm listening to you.
Okay, well,
I'm smart enough to know when it's time to shut up and listen. I'm listening.
Anyway, the point being is that the Truth and Reconciliation thing would allow people to not only complain but also to say why they did wrong. That's a basic concept. Now the point with the actual money itself is that a lot of people say that we should have money, cash. Well, if you give people cash, they'll give it right back to the and the other folks who have created problems in the first place.
Right.
But if you have a real estate investment trust,
okay,
that in itself is a bank that helps people get mortgages and buy properties, etc.
Right.
That it's where where the money stays in the control of Black folks, because you have what they call a voting trust that is the only group that can vote like a board of directors, but it's called a voting trust.
Yes.
And that could be controlled by Blacks. And so therefore, it's a Black thing, not giving it back to the people who started the problem in the first place.
Right.
Same thing with the venture capital group that would lend money and invest in people who want to go into business. And it would be set up the same way. And then you have a not-for-profit thing to do health, not-for-profit thing to do education. And the key thing as far as people feeling bad about what they've done is that they can invest and put money into any or all of these different entities.
Yes. Well, that's kind of what I was inferring to. I didn't mean to make it seem like there was a retributive motive behind what I was saying. I was saying that, hopefully it was interpreted correctly. I was saying that there should be a thing where we can go to the companies that already have a record of doing bad and say, hey, look, man, we understand it was 1962 and things weren't as intellectually or morally sound the way we want it to be. So, the bottom line is would you put money towards this thing that we feel you should be obligated to? So it's like it's a leveraging, but it's a soft leverage, right?
Right.
I'm very interested in the plan you put together, and I don't know how it's been implemented in this. I'm not sure if you talked to Alderman Robin Simmons about it, or if she's implemented it in her plan that is going forward now. But I'd love a copy of it, and I'd love to put it on our website so people could actually download it and take a look at it if it's ready to be looked at when this goes out. You know what I mean? When this goes out.
Well,
When this video goes out.
I made a presentation to the committee and they ignored it because, well, I'm not sure why. That's neither here nor there. The main thing is that I can make sure that you get a copy of it.
That would be wonderful.
My whole point is to, after the new council gets in place, to try and implement some of these things, because they are, to me, that's the way to go, rather than just giving everybody a lot of money. Now, I know people want $25,000 or whatever amount there is.
Yeah.
$25,000 in no way compensates for the harm that's been done by discrimination. Everybody, I think anybody with a reasonable mind agrees that $25,000 to 15 to 17 people, depending on what the taxes and stuff are, is almost, it's so insulting if you try to leave it at that it's almost, it could go bad. So we're in agreement of that, and we know it's just, again, a one small piece in a 1,000-piece puzzle. I'm interested in, now that you said this, let's go back to this part of it. On the council's group that you put that you actually presented them this plan to, was it the council group with Robin, Miss Rainey, and I think there was one other person? No, Braithwaite, yeah.
Braithwaite, okay, so it was those three. All right. There is a rumor, and I don't know, I don't have facts to back this up, but there was a rumor that Ann Rainey was the person who presented the $25,000 cap per person. Excuse me?
I have no idea.
Okay. And I was wondering, there was a time when you and I talked and you mentioned that Ann Rainey had some feelings about Black men. Can you put that on the record here with me? Seeing as she's 1/3 of the population that is making this presented this thing to the world, and that she's also supposedly rumored to be the person who said, well, let's cap it at, or let's present it at $25,000 per person. I think it's very relevant that her history be put to record here, that you actually spoke of before. Can you reiterate that, or would you be comfortable with that?
Well, I think Ann Rainey is no longer going to be alderman, so she's history in this so matter. And the other point is that this is not about retribution. I'm not sure what Ann Rainey was thinking. We had no conversations about it. But the main thing is that we need to move forward and not worry about kicking people who are already down, but move forward and get something done for the folks who've been at the bottom for so many centuries, Black Americans.
Thank you. I respect you for that. My youth still wants to kick people in the butt for stuff. So thank you for guiding me in the right direction.
Well, when I was a kid, I was a mean little kid. I was really mean, and I was also tough. I mean, in fact, only lost one fight in all my life. That when I was 4 years old, I picked on Frances Campbell Davis, and her sister, Ola Jane, beat me up. And that's the only fight I ever lost in life.
We have that in common, because the only person that ever beat me up in life is Earl Batt's sister. And she was like 5 years older than me. And everybody else, I either won or we just decided not to fight. That's how I went through. So we got that in common. I love it. And I had a lot of fights. So that's good. So what else can you tell me? Okay, so they have yet to really at this point adopt the program that you've written, and I think it's highly credible that the things that you've laid down. Do you think that what's in place right now has some similarities to what you've presented?
Well, no, the main thing is they started with housing. And as I said earlier, housing is the key to wealth.
Right.
So that's important.
Okay.
But it has no, I see, my thought is that the city shouldn't control it. It shouldn't be a political thing.
Right.
It should be spun off. The city should finance it. And
Okay.
it should be done by the Black community. Not exclusively, I think I'd say, like the voting trust I talked about earlier, should be at least 85% Black, at least 85%, no mandatory. And so that way you can be certain that the Blacks will more or less control things that go on.
Okay.
My experience with real estate investment trust was in 1970. I'm not sure what year.
1917?
No, in 1970.
I'm just messing with you, Bennett.
That's all right. We started the what do you call it? The Merit Trust, Minority Enterprise Investment Real Estate Investment Trust.
Okay.
It was the first Black controlled trust in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's the kind of concept I would like to get together again.
That sounded phenomenal. What happened to it?
Well, I was voted out by a group. I'm not sure why, but anyway, the point is that we got a grant. I was working for I was the regional head of the Office of Minority Business Enterprise, now called the MBDA. I was the first regional director in the Region 7, Chicago area and Midwest. And I was my law firm, one of the former lawyers with the law firm I worked with, McBride Baker was the name of the firm.
Okay.
One of the lawyers, David Brown, became the key legal guy with the agency in the Department of Commerce. And he was, because we worked together, they gave a grant of about $250,000 to this Merit Trust. And unfortunately, the guys, instead of using the money widely, took a trip to China. And so it sort of faded away, unfortunately.
Okay.
That's why I don't agree with giving the money, because folks with $25,000 won't buy a mule nowadays. And certainly won't buy
Well, I think you can get a mule by that much, but I totally am. Unfortunately, I'm saddened by the fact that, you know, that this incredibly smart idea that came to fruition was damaged by some fool's need to take the money to China and go spend it and, you know, do whatever he was doing in China. But I think the concept was fantastic. I also have a real estate background. So I am familiar with, you know, the level of the trust that you spoke of. And I do think it would be a very viable opportunity if put together and ran right, especially now that we have such good control over things digitally. Whoever's involved could have a vote, and they could be in whatever city or wherever they're at doing their business and still vote for whatever application that's going on. That would be really cool, because I would love to go forward in some more real estate based investments. And as soon as COVID is over and my partners jump back in, I'm in. Yeah, as soon as I can get back in, I'm in, and that's how it is. So give me some more of your thoughts on this reparations program now that people are nationally attracted to Evanston.
Well, I think, again, the fact that Evanston started it is really important. And I think other people will pick it up across the country. In
Yeah,
fact,
that's the idea.
it's going to happen. And at some point, well, like HR 40, which has been in Congress for I don't know how many years under John Conyers, and now I think Sheila Jackson Lee is the chair of the committee, the congressional committee that's looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to go forward. And once that's done on a federal level, I think everything else will fall into place. The key problem is money, and we will spend money to kill people in the Defense Department and give taxes to the billionaires. But if it comes giving 40 acres and a mule, and just think what that would be in today's dollar,
Yeah.
then we're going to have problems with that. But the main thing is that it's moving and it won't stop. It may take 10 years, may take 20 years, but believe me, reparations is here to stay.
Yeah, and eventually it will come to fruition in a solid form. I'm looking forward to it. So I think I think that's pretty solidly what we need to be putting out here. I'm so happy you took the time to tell me about it. And I do want to see and read your program. And I will post it on my website for people to possibly download with your permission. If they see this and say, hey, I want to see that, they can go to evanstonmagazine.net. Have you been contacted by any of the like ABC, NBC, CBS?
I was contacted by WTTW,
Okay.
Medicaid, and we had a brief conversation. But she only took the part. She asked me how I felt about the concept of reparation compared to when I used to play football, because we were playing on a new field, just a new, hadn't been played on before.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing Niles, and I was an end.
Yeah.
And I made the first touchdown on that brand new field. And of course, obviously I always felt euphoric.
Yeah.
So comparing the feeling of doing that with the fact that it's in fact reparations, but she never really put out any substance. I mean, not her, but the producer never put anything substantive out that I said at that interview. So you're posting this concept. I call it the Freedom Plan. Would be very helpful.
Well, I hope I'm a piece of this historic moment and puzzle. I'm just here in Evanston, and I see the importance. I really have a great conversation when it comes to talking about what Evanston means to people treating each other fairly, because I think that even though Evanston does still have some forms of covert racism, overt racism, I think that Evanston is a place where the conversation is at least being had amongst people. And I think that it's very important, especially right now when we're going through what we're going through in Evanston with the council, the exchange of the mayor, the school board, and who is presently our chief of police. I think it's very important for us to continue the conversation and not end up enemies based on color and wealth. Because
the other part of the thing is that I got several endorsements from people across the country, mostly academicians, but it was also endorsed by Jan Skowski, our congressman.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the other part of this whole thing is that Evanston has what Father Bob Odeshaw used to call drive-by diversity.
Drive-by diversity, okay. I love it.
So we have we hold ourselves out. Let me be clear though. Racism is part of the culture of the United States of America.
Right.
It was justified. Slavery had to be justified.
Okay.
So the white Christians justified slavery by developing a mythology of blacks being inferior and slaves had no rights at all, and the women too at that point. But the facts are that I believe, and this is my theory, is that the first of all, slaves came over on a ship, and those that survived, all of them didn't survive. Some
Right.
died in passage, some committed suicide. And then when they arrived at the United States, they worked from sunup to sundown, doing cotton and so forth and so on. And then when we finally were manumitted and freed as slaves, we weren't given anything.
Right.
We weren't given 40, except for, I'm sorry, Sherman declared that a small area, I think it was in North Carolina or somewhere near there, where 40 acres and a mule was actually given to blacks. So, so in other words, we survived slavery, survived Jim Crow, and here we are now. And the other important part about this is that the guy, a scientist, a European scientist called Mendel, M-E-N-D-E-L, and who dealt with hybrids and thoroughbreds and agriculture and so forth. And his conclusion after his experiments was that hybrids were stronger than thoroughbreds.
Okay.
So when you think about who are the hybrids in the United States, then you have the answer to my philosophy.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I respect that, and I believe that also that's a slippery slope, I think, especially in an America like this one. And I don't want to have that conversation. Let's just walk that race-based teeter-totter. Let's leave that one alone. Who's better than who? That's never going to be good. So, and I want this to all be about reparations, right? Reparations. And I think the bigger conversation, if you have a bigger conversation about reparations, yes, that should probably be a part of it. But this one, we're not going to touch that. Sorry. All due respect. So it's cool. Are you coming out with a book anytime soon?
No.
Of any type?
I'm a book publisher.
I know you're a publisher, and that's why I'm like, why would you not have all of these things that you have done and all of these things that you've been a part of? You, man, please. Even if you have to just talk about it and we have to just transcribe it into a book, Bennett, it has to be somewhere. You're like Forrest Gump. You walk through all of the history of America.
Well, I feel you can't serve two masters. I've been asked this a whole lot, but I'm more important in getting results than I'm talking about who I am. But I do agree that there may be some value in telling the stories, because a lot of these things have been repeated without people realizing it's all been done before. And that's the only value I see in writing a book about it.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I look forward to either being a part of you writing that book or reading it when it's done. Whoever has the opportunity to get you to do that, man, that'll be a big endeavor. And so we're going to conclude this conversation. And I wanted to know if you have any last parting words that you'd like to tell people about Evanston and/or this project, or what you feel about the future, that you either reiterate something or whatever. But the floor is again yours.
Well, I have a close friend named Jeanette Roussel, who's written a book about reparations, history, and so forth. That we'll probably publish within the next few months.
Okay. So look out for that on Path Press, right? Pathpress.com, I think is your website. Okay, I'll make sure I put the website on there, Bennett. Thank you so much. My fiance Linda says hello, and she says thank you for allowing us to be our magazine, to be one of the many that you've helped out with your deep wisdom. You know, I love it. And did you get your shots? Because I know we're supposed.
Yeah.
You got them, okay?
Yeah, I
Because
got both of them. Yeah.
we're supposed to drink some whiskey together, ain't we?
No, I retired from drinking, didn't I tell you?
Yeah.
I used to be a professional drinker, but I retired about 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have some coffee or something together when you get.
I don't drink coffee. You know, coffee makes you black.
Oh.
What? I heard that.
When I was a kid, my mother used to give me casserole and coffee, and that ended my interest in coffee.
Make you poop in your pants. That's what it sounds like she was trying to do to you. That's all right. So, okay, well, we'll do something, man. I hope to see you around real soon.
Okay, Doc.
Thank you, Bennett.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.